All right. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, recapping the LSU game. Obviously, very disappointed in a loss to LSU in a road game in a very tough environment. Everything there was as advertised from a fan support and passion standpoint. Definitely a very impressive place to play. Our defense continues to play very well. They're keeping us in games and giving us every opportunity to win. Ranked in the top 10 in most categories. Statistically, number 3 in the country in scoring defense. So I thought defense did a tremendous job. Throughout the course of the game. After a positive outing versus Auburn, we took a step backwards offensively. Moved the ball well on the ground for the most part, but that lacked any semblance of consistency or effectiveness in the pass game. And certainly can't turn the ball over 4 times and convert 2 of 14 third down opportunities and expect to win. Obviously scoring 3 points isn't going to get the job done, and it's my job to get it fixed. Special teams, we were solid overall. I think we need to improve our punting to help swing the field position and win the hidden yardage battle. That's something we took a look at in our three losses and our 4 wins. Did we win the explosive play battle? Did we win the turnover battle? And where was the hidden yardage? And then our 3 losses, our drive start was right around a 20 or less offensively, and the opposition's was at 35 or higher. So that's something where yards are at a premium, and with the punt game we need to to obviously work to improve that. Continuing to a review. No players of the week or scouts of the week. Our student athletes of the week were Kylan Hill and Cam Gardner. 2 good in-state players for us there. From an injury standpoint, Kylan Hill with a lower body still day-to-day. Keith Mixon has improved. He's still got a lower body, day-to-day and working to get through things. And then Stu Reese also has a lower body, and he's day-to-day. Defensively, Brian Cole, we were kind of optimistic about him last week. Didn't make the progress that we wanted heading into the LSU game, but is still day-to-day with an upper body. And that kind of rounds out the injuries from the LSU game. Heading into Texas A&M, obviously led by Jimbo Fisher, their head coach, 4-2, and 87 and 25 overall, ranked 16th or 17th in the polls. One of 4 active head coaches to win a national championship, and the offensive play caller for Texas A&M. Their 2 losses on the year were to number 2 ranked Clemson at the time by 2 points, and to number 1 ranked Alabama. Their coordinator on offense is Daryl Dickey. He coaches the quarterbacks, a mix of pro style and spread, multiple personnel groupings and formations, averaging 32 points a game. Very impressive from a yardage standpoint, rushing for 204 and passing for 282. Their quarterback, Kellen Mond, true dual threat guy, has thrown for 1,810 touchdowns. Quick release, very accurate, can beat you with his legs as well. Running back Travion Williams, quick, explosive. He's a second leading rusher in the SEC. And then the tight end, this guy's very impressive, Jake Sternberger, ranked first in FBS among tight ends in receiving yards and touchdowns. Moving over to defense, Mike Elko is their coordinator. They play a 4-down front with a mixture of 1 and 2 high zones. Ranked number 2 in the country in third down conversion defense, number 4 in the country in rush defense, giving up only 81.6 yards a game, and 5th in red zone defense. Top players are Justin Metabuike on the D-line, number 52. Linebacker Ataro Aleka, all right. He's number 42, 6.5 tackles for loss, very physical, very productive. And the defensive back, number 6, Donovan Wilson, 39 tackles, 2 for loss and a sack, and he is a defensive captain. On the special teams, they're pretty simple, but they do a real great job with fundamentals and technique and production. They are 76% touchbacks on kickoff. Their punter, Brandon Mann, is averaging an astonishing 54.5 yards a punt. He leads the country and has 12 kicks over 60 yards. So that's very impressive. The jersey number 12 on the special teams, Colin Gillespie, he's a game wrecker on every unit. He's got 4 tackles. And then the kick returner, Jay-Sean Corbin, is doing an excellent job, though. 3 returns, 49-yard average, and had a 100-yard touchdown versus Arkansas. All right. Heading into the game, obviously our kids remain very upbeat and positive. We made the corrections and got a good head start on Texas A&M at yesterday's practice. Defense, for all the things we're doing very well there. Coach Shoup and I have challenged them to elevate the unit from great to elite, And the way that we can help get that done is by creating more turnovers. Like I said, we're top 10 in the country in the majority of our statistical categories, 105th in the country right now in creating turnovers. So that's something that we've challenged them to do. Special teams continues to improve. We're going to focus on winning the drive start battle. Huge disparity there in the games we lost. Continue to improve there, specifically the punt team. Offensively, we continue to run the ball well, but we need to find a way to complement the pass game and keep defenses honest. Our system has always been most effective when we can do both successfully, and when one is taken away, we can use the other side to pick up the slack. We absolutely must find a way to generate more explosive plays while protecting the football, and can't rely solely on the run game to drive the length of the field, because as a play caller, it makes it very, very tough. And certainly understand the frustration with our 3 losses to 3 teams with a combined record of 19-3, I believe all ranked in or close to the top 10. And particularly disappointed with the performance of our offense in these games, especially considering my track record of success on this side of the ball relative to our lack of productivity. All right, so the thumbs at me. My job is to get it fixed, and it will. We're exhausting every option and working diligently to make that thing happen. Times like these, after losses is usually when the suggestion box is full, and the answer that you pull out is always right with the benefit of hindsight. In the Kentucky and Florida losses, the answer was we needed to run it more. In the Auburn win, it was okay, because we won, even though we didn't pass it real well there. And then certainly with the LSU, we need to pass the ball more effectively, even though we did run it for over 100 yards more than they were allowing. And ultimately, the criticism is warranted when we don't perform well. To me, you can't be myopic. We got to focus on the immediate, and fixing what needs to be done right now to make sure this season turns out the way we want it to, and also understand what we're building towards. I love the culture of our program right now. The kids are bought in. They're doing everything we're asking them to do as it relates to the process, and we're going to buy in. And certainly, was brought in here to elevate this program to a championship level, and build on the foundation, the obviously excellent foundation laid by Coach Mullen and his staff. And we're worried they're not mutually exclusive. We could talk about 2 things. We could talk about the urgency and necessity and the need for this staff to get it right now for this year and make sure this season ends the way it needs to end. And that's with a bunch of wins down the line. But at the same time, talk about the things that we need to do from a culture standpoint to build this program to the thing that we want in the long term. So I love our fans. I certainly understand and empathize with their frustration. I think their passion is what makes them great. And I appreciate their patience in making this happen this year immediately and in the future long term. And expect another great turnout at Davis Wade as we bring another top 25 opponent in here in Texas A&M. So with that, any questions?
You mentioned the field position battle earlier. Obviously, punting and turnovers are going to contribute to that. When y'all study the hidden yards, are there any other factors that are contributing to the lack of field position right now?
The punting for and punting against has been a big part of it. Certainly the offense extending drives, and when we do punting from a distance that's closer to the opposition's goal line, and the defense has been doing a better job creating more 3 and outs. We have given up some drives, but done real well in the compete zone and not giving up touchdowns. So I think all of it kind of ties together. But a lot of it right now is we're getting out punted. And teams, as you saw, I think we started 2 or 3 drives inside the 5-yard line against LSU. And for how we're operating right now, that makes it difficult to drive the length of the field.
Coach, I know when the offense has struggled, the most popular guy on campus is the backup quarterback, but have you considered possibly shaking things up a little bit on the depth chart at quarterback?
I think we talked about that after the game, that, we sit in, we watch the film, and we talk about, the depth chart at every position, not just a quarterback. I think that's probably the one that's most talked about and most visible because of the importance of it. And for the struggles that Nick has had, throwing the football, I kind of have to, credit him with the amount of times that he's rushed the ball and what he's done for us, to create yards and create points. But obviously our struggles in the pass game are apparent, and it doesn't just go to him. When three things need to happen for a pass game to be successful: you need to protect, you need to run good routes and gain separation, and the quarterback needs to throw the ball accurately. And unfortunately, right now, not all 3 of those things are clicking. But to answer your question, we have discussed in the offensive staff room, not making a change, but, during the first half and second half, giving the KT an opportunity to start a drive for two reasons. As a change of pace, to give him an opportunity because he's a talented player. And secondly, to take some of the physical wear and tear off of Nick, who's, got 121 carries right now in 6 games, and he's the fifth leading rusher in the SEC.
Kind of going off of that, when you talk about evaluating personnel, are the quarterbacks being evaluated just like, say, the starting cornerback and the backup cornerback are being evaluated, or is that something you've taken a closer look at in recent weeks?
I don't know necessarily a closer look at in recent weeks, and obviously, production kind of necessitates the lens in which you look at it, and like it or not, the quarterback position is one that receives more credit than it deserves when you do well, and more blame than it deserves when you don't perform up to expectation level. So, we evaluate all the positions the same, but certainly I think we could all agree that the quarterback's a little bit different in scope.
Coach, when you see on film A&M, what impresses you the most with Kellen Mond and the way he's able to lead his offense down the field, just move the ball?
I think from a passing standpoint, his quick release, his accuracy, his delivery, kind of the command of the offense. But he's also a guy, like we do in our run game. He gives you the benefit of being kind of that extra number in the run game with some zone reads and some things like that. They're a combination of pro style and spread, so they're able to do both. Very, very impressive player.
The 4 interceptions that Nick threw the other night, was there a common theme among them, or were they all kind of individually?
I'd say they were probably a little bit different. The first one we had a little bit of pressure. They had an interior blitz. Colin cut the guy, and Nick kind of sidestepped and threw it behind the crosser. Late on a couple of the other ones, I'd say that's probably the common theme on the last 3.
Coach, right here, Eldon Jenkins seems to really be giving you what you need at center. Seems like he's making all the snaps. Just evaluate his performance in his senior year.
You've seen on some of the draft boards that they have him ranked as one of the top centers in the country, and I think that's very warranted. Does a great job making all the calls, great communication with the interior 3 guys. Has done a good job in the run game. As you can see, we've been able to do that very successfully, and has been pretty stout in protection too. So Elton's done a fine job for us.
Coach, I know early in the year you said you kind of want to stick with a wide receiver group. Has there been any thought to kind of shaking that rotation up a little bit after assessing the film against LSU?
Yeah, I don't know how much more shake there is left. I mean, most of those guys are getting playing time. At the X position, Guidry and Jesse are rotating there. Osiris is getting a bunch of snaps along with Jesse at the Z, and we're playing 3 slots. So, like I said, it's all those things go together. In the pass game, we gotta protect, gotta run good routes, gotta get separation, and gotta deliver the ball.
Nick mentioned after the game, there's something missing in the pass game from the practice field to game days, other than just general precision and execution. What is missing in the passing game?
The disconnect, you would say? Yeah, disconnect. I think it probably goes along with the 3 things I just mentioned. They're getting all 3 of those things working at the same time: the protection, the routes, and the accuracy.
Obviously, you continued to stick with Nick. Is he noticeably better than Keaton in practice? Is there a pretty big disparity there?
I wouldn't say big disparity, but better in practice, yes.
When y'all did the self-scout in the bye week, are teams playing more man than zone against y'all?
Actually, LSU played a bunch more zone than they normally play, and I think that had something to do with our run game against Auburn and some of the fits and things that happened like that. The biggest thing, and I looked over it in the office, looked over it again on the plane on the way there. First and second down, we're 70% run and 30% pass right now. So, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, for us to be as successful as we want and how this offense has operated at its peak level of productivity is when we're able to do both successfully. And right now we're one-dimensional. I mean, we're running the ball very, very well, and we need to find a way to create more explosive plays in addition to the ones we're doing in the run game with the pass game. Because it's just difficult unless you're a triple option offense to call runs the entire way down the field and expect to sustain that level of effectiveness throughout the course of a game. We got to find a way to pass the ball better.
How does man coverage impact what y'all want to do in the screen game, in the quick game, and otherwise?
In the pass game? Yeah. I mean, I think when people play press, it eliminates the term we use, access, that there's not, real quick throws on the edges that you can kind of get out of your hand. I don't know that it does much to the screen game, but when teams are playing press, what it does is takes away some of the quick throws.
Is the is the offense's built-in answer to that to go downfield with one-on-ones, or is there more than that?
No, there's more than that. I mean, there's quick game answers where there's, a man side of the route, a zone side of the route, some screens and things like that. We threw a couple in the game, but like I said, the combination of quick game screens, we definitely got to do a better job in our intermediate pass game and in taking advantage of our shots down the field, which we called a couple, and I mean, quite frankly, a couple of them were wide open. And we didn't hit them. So, those are the ones that we've got to hit, for this offense to look like it's supposed to.
Common theme in the 3 SEC losses versus the win over Auburn is the running backs not getting into double-digit carries. What's the biggest difference when those 3 games versus the Auburn games that allowed the running backs to participate more?
Yeah, I think Colin was fixing to. I mean, I think it was 6 or 8 going into the half, and he had, a couple right there in the third quarter as we saw what they were doing. So I think if that game had continued and Colin had stayed in, he'd have been a high teens, low 20s carry. But as it got to the latter stages of the second half, and they were sustaining drives, and we were behind, that kind of took the air out of the ball a little bit, and we had to, throw it around. I don't say throw it around. That's probably hyperbole. We had to throw it more than we normally do, particularly on the last drive.
Just for you personally, is this kind of uncharted territory for your offense in your career to have this kind of a stretch of 3 or 4 games when it hadn't really, things haven't clicked? Have you had an experience like this before?
As a coordinator or head coach calling the plays, not so much at Penn State. Maybe the first 3 coming out of the gate, maybe 4. But it was kind of probably mirrored to the level that we had here. We did decent against Kent, had a good outing against Pitt. Struggled against Michigan, struggled a little bit against Minnesota, then kind of got going. You'd have to go back to Akron or to UConn at the very tail end of my last season there as a coordinator. We were having trouble passing the ball, and we ran it very well. We had, I think the leading rusher in the Big East, one of the tops in the country, but we weren't throwing the ball very well at that point. So there haven't been many instances of it, but it has happened in the past. Like to most coordinators who've done it for 20 years, there's going to be times and stretches where this happens.
Obviously, everyone would like to block out the rumblings and everything that you hear, but sometimes it's hard to. How do you think Keaton Thompson has handled the sort of weird situation that he's been in? People calling for his name, but obviously Nick is the guy that you guys are rolling with right now. How do you think he's handled that?
Yeah, Keaton's handled it very well. I mean, he works very hard in practice. He prepares very well. The game he had an opportunity to come in against our FCS opponent. He did a very good job there, and I've been in his shoes, and it's something that I think he's done a very, very good job of preparing well, being ready to be head into the game when his number's called, but at the same time not being a distraction to the quarterback room, to the offense, or to the team.